Hi, friends. This is Jim Wortham, and I want to thank you for joining me for a few minutes on the discussion of failure and how to change it to success. Um, I was never considered to be an academic person, a smart person. In fact, let me just share right off the bat most of the time that I'm on here, I don't have any notes. I have no outline. It's spontaneous. My parents thought I was so slow that they took me to a psychologist when I was very young, thinking that I wasn't talking soon enough. I uh, I was not what you would call develop. I didn't quite develop on the regular scale of being born and going up. They call it developmental delays. And I remember I told the psychologist at Spalding University, by the way, that's one of the universities I got a master's degree from later. But the psychologist I went gave me all sorts of tests. They were like we're playing with toys like puzzles and things, but they were really IQ tests and tests to see if I could put blocks together, just you name it, just to tap my mind to see if I was retarded or not. And I remember telling her I wanted to be a psychologist. To this day, I know what she said. You really have to be smart to be a psychologist. Now, that was the first person told me that I needed to be smart to be a psychologist. Uh, didn't pay much attention to it. I was just a kid, elementary school, and I did fairly well in elementary school. Went to junior high. I would say most of my learning was from first grade to eighth grade. From ninth to 12th, it seemed like I was learning the same thing I had been taught in the earlier years, the same math, the same history, the same English, the same thing. Maybe I like shop, but I only got to take it one year. Shop, making things out of wood, making all sorts of things that I would use ashtrays, anything I thought I could make. My teacher would help me do it. Wanted to go to vocational school to learn how to repair cars and work on cars. Couldn't go because I was too smart. All of a sudden, I went from being almost retarded to too smart. Wanted to take a class in sociology. I was already taking one in psychology. This is in high school. Well, you're not dumb enough to take one in sociology. We got you in psychology. That's for smarter people. So I had all this failure, success going on. I got to tell you a true story here. I was in a school band, and my second teacher, first teacher became a principal, and the second teacher demoted me from the advanced band back down to either the intermediate or beginner's band. I guess he just we had a personality conflict. And he announced one day they're going to have tryouts for the national state, the state band. That would be the best people that won the contest to be in this state band. And it went by a different name. So I applied. I played a cornet, a trumpet, and then toward the end a baritone. I thought, well, I'll go and do it. I said, I'm not a good player, but I can at least try. Now, to be put from the advanced band down to the beginners band is a pretty sad thing. Wouldn't you think that would be a drop down from success to failure? So I go ahead and I go to this all-state band. That's what they called it, all-state band. I go and do my thing. They had me sight read. That means play something straight from a page of notes. Some song never heard of before. They had me go through a lot more exercises that proved that I knew how to play. I don't want to say I played really great, but let me tell you this. A week later, I was at school. It's in 11th grade. And the band teacher looked at me. He said, "Have you had a chance to look at that sheet of paper that I posted on the wall of who won the all-state band positions?" I said, "No, I didn't know. You didn't announce it. I didn't know it." I said, I'm sure it doesn't pertain to me." Well, it did pertain to me. I was one of the three people that played baritones that made the Kentucky that Kentucky. Heck, why can't I do better than this in my memory? The Kentucky, the best of the Kentucky, as far as horn players, violin players. So I was invited to go to all sorts of concerts to be part of the band. All-state band. There we go. All-state band. Okay, so guess what? We go from failure back up to success. And when I say failure, when you go from advanced band to beginning, and then he decides he's going to put you back in advanced band again, you see how close failure and success is? It can happen in a minute. So when you feel like you failed, it just means you need to ignore it and keep going. I wasn't going to share what I just shared, but it just came to me as an example. What I was going to share is how many colleges I went to. First of all, I wasn't college material, but my counselor didn't tell me that. He just said, just apply at this one college. You don't need to apply anywhere else. In other words, I'm not going to be accepted anywhere, so don't spend the money to send the application and do the application. Don't send the $10, $20 they want with the application so they can pay someone to go over it. You won't need that because you probably won't get into a college anyhow. He was almost right. I got into the college. Would you believe first semester, a F in history? No, a F in my language. I had to have four semesters of a language. So you know what I'm getting ready to say. I only went one semester, and it was a F. Then I was majoring in psychology. Well, you would think if I majored in psychology, they'd all be A's. Why did I make a D minus? Because it was statistics of psychology, and that dealt with numbers. And I don't remember numbers well. I don't do well with numbers. Okay, so at the end of a couple semesters, I decided I made C's. Okay, I actually started making C's. And after about a year and a half there, for a 4-year degree, bachelor's degree called BA or BS in psychology, I switched right before going into the Vietnam War. I had already gone to sign up for the Army. At the last minute, I decided, they don't start. They don't start February. They don't start till February at Western Kentucky University. I was going to Kentucky Southern College, which was a Baptist private college. So I switched to a state college, which was Western Kentucky University, and said I'm going to redo myself mentally, physically, personality wise. In fact, there's probably no personality that I had at that point because I had difficulties getting dates or people interested in associating with me. So we were going to redo a major redo. They accepted me. They wouldn't transfer. They wouldn't transfer that F or D. I tell you that. I'm glad they didn't transfer that F or D, but it stayed on my transcript, and that wasn't a help to me at all. Let me just tell you that that was covered in earlier video that I did a few days ago. How that caused me to be told I'd never be accepted for a master's or doctorate degree program from any university. I was told that by he was the chairman of University of Kentucky's psychology department of the PhD and the master's program. So I took that as a failure, by the way, but I turned it to a success. After so many years of doing different jobs, I thought, well, let's see, the difference between failure, which is where I am right now, and success would be maybe calling more universities, even though he said no university was going to take me. So I call Spalding University. They're in Louisville, Kentucky. And they said, come on in. We'll interview you. They accepted me. That was rough in itself because my grades were low and I had to take a graduate record exam 2 or 3 times because they wanted a certain high score because my undergraduate classes weren't very good. Oh, let's say they were C plus to B minus. And I still got my bachelor's degree in psychology, sociology, and a teaching degree out of that. So going through Spalding was difficult. I also went to another university, Southern Baptist Theological Seminary, and got a master's from there before I went to Spalding. And to say I was an A student or B student at that seminary, no. barely made it. And then, as things went on, became an associate pastor, a youth minister, and then decided I was didn't like the confidence to go any further. Also, my parents were living in Louisville. They were getting elderly. I said, someone's got to take care of them. And if any job I was offered was outside of Kentucky. So I said, someone's got to be there for my parents. So instead, I went to Spalding. I said, I can get a job. I can get a job in Kentucky and be close to them. So that's what I did. I won't go into all the details. I won't tell you how many times I had to take the psychology. Well, I'll tell you, I took psychology license exam 3 times before passing. I dropped several classes while I was going to graduate school because it wouldn't make any sense. The teacher didn't talk on a level that I could understand. You know what I'm talking about there, don't you? You've had teachers you didn't understand and thought and you tried your best, but instead of an A, you ended up with a C or lower. That's what I'm talking about. So I stretched that psychology degree into quite a few years. And then after that, I took the psychology exam 3 times. Now, now I finally succeeded on that. I took another exam, which a three part exam, written, orals, and objective 400 questions or something. A national that was in substance abuse. Passed it right off the bat. Well, I'm on a roll at this point. I was totally down to failure, but I was on a roll. I had flipped the switch from failure by not giving up. If I gave up, I went back again. Maybe in the case of teachers, I chose different teachers and I passed. So I end up with 2 master degrees, and the never where I applied for a job, I couldn't get it. Too nervous, too anxious. I was born with anxiety. And but the light on was up there, and there was someone in the brain. Yeah, the lights were on. There was someone up there who wouldn't give up. So after 2 to 3 years, I had people tell me they'd hire me. These are organizations now, and they wouldn't accept a phone call back. So they said, "Call back." Well, I called back, but I couldn't get hold of them, and they wouldn't return phone calls. Finally, I got a phone call from Charter Hospital, and it was from the director of the outpatient section, Dennis Cameron, and he said, "Don't even apply here because you don't have the experience, and we want 3 years experience before we hire someone at this hospital." Okay, how you get experience when nobody hires you for 3 years, 2 3 years? So anyhow, guess what happened? He had he had too many people resigning, and he calls me up quite a long time later after he told me not to even apply. No, don't give me your resume because I'm not going to hire you. That type of thing. So he calls me up and says, "Are you working right now?" I said, "No." I started to tell him that I had interviewed several places and I'm waiting for a possible job. And he says, "Look, if you'll come in tomorrow, we'll hire you. If you go to Human Resources, and we're going to go ahead and hire you." I got to tell you something funny. I celebrated by drinking half a bottle of wine with my wife. I think we shared a whole bottle, and this is gonna be funny. I go in and I fill out the application at Charter Hospital, brand new, brand new. When I say it was brand new, um, 2 to 3 years. When he told me not to apply was when the grand opening was. So that's how new it was. So I come in, I fill out the paperwork, and the human resource lady says, "I need you to go down to the nurse's office and give a sample of urine." I thought, oh my God, I got alcohol in my body, half a bottle of wine from last night. I'm going to lose the only job I've ever been offered. So I didn't tell anyone. Oh, I tried to make excuses. I said, "I got another interview. I got to leave right now, but I'll come back tomorrow and give a sample." I actually said that. What would you think if you interviewed someone and you said, "I need a sample," and they said, "Well, I can't give one now because I got an interview here in about 10 minutes somewhere else"? Well, you know what she thought. She said, "It won't take but 5 minutes. You'll be able to keep your other appointment on time. You can even call from here and tell them you're on the way." So I thought, man, I've lost this job before I even got it. And I went down there and gave the P test, and I wouldn't tell anyone I applied there until I got my first paycheck. So from that point on, this is this success thing and failure thing completely flip flopped. I went from absolute failure for every job I ever offered to other places calling me up saying, "Can I work for them part time? Or do you have time where you can do it on call? Because got to have 24-hour coverage and we need someone to answer the phone and admit if a person needs to go into a psychiatric hospital." I had 3 jobs at one time. And to the time I resigned, I had more than I could handle. In fact, I started resigning 10 years before I actually closed my office. I had handed out so many business cards, got them from Vista Print, bought them by the thousands. And I want to tell you that a lot of people kept those cards. And when they got into some deep trouble, especially with drugs, I got a phone call. "Can you help me?" Or my wife died, or my son died. "Can you see me?" Why? How do you say no? To this day, I'm still licensed. I still pay liability insurance. I've kept 3 of my licenses in Indiana. I let the one go psychology go in Kentucky, but I'm in Indiana, so we've got licensed marriage and family therapy. I've got licensed clinical addictions counselor, and then I have licensed clinical social work. So we switched. I say we, that's a royal we, me, I, and myself. We got off the floor, dusted ourselves off from being retarded or being told we're retarded, being told no university would take me, that no one would ever come to see me because why would they come to see a person by the name of Wortham? What are they going to do? I remember this. This psychology head of psychology at Spalding said, "Don't ever think about working for yourself, because what they're going to do? Go down the phone book till they get the W's and say, oh, I like this guy's name. It's Wortham, Wortham. We'll call him." I'm going to stop here in a minute because let me tell you what, I worked 30 years by myself. First 5 years, well, let me just say, after I got done with charter, I went and worked for a huge health maintenance organization in Louisville. Then I worked for a community mental health facility in Hardinsburg, Kentucky. Then I worked 3 years as director of LifeSpring here in Madison, Indiana. And I left LifeSpring after 3 years and said, I'm going to work for myself. So I did. And I switched that from failure to success because when I started, there was not a single person that would see me because they had never heard of me outside of working for LifeSpring Mental Health Services. So I go and rent a room, and I'm sitting there seeing people for free if they didn't already have a therapist. How did I get above that? Because if you're seeing people free, you're not making a good living. So what I did was I went ahead and got a list of all of the insurance companies nationwide that was also operating in Indiana. And then there were employee assistance programs that would give people, if they worked at a company, say 5 free sessions, 3 free sessions, 10 free sessions. Then a contract from a huge mental health facility that wasn't in our county approached me, and we drew up a contract. Everything turned green. And I'll tell you one funny thing, and I'm gone. I worked a lot of time in addictions, and that was one license I didn't finish applying for. I had already done 3 years of full time addiction work, and it's a gambling addiction, not just addiction. I already had the addiction exam passed, and I was that. This was gambling addiction because we had all these uh, casinos opening up in Indiana. So I worked 3 years, and I was so nervous. I signed up to take the written exam 3 times for about $300 each, and was so nervous I didn't go. Finally, I just said, I'm going to go ahead and go, and didn't study for it. But because addiction, gambling is very much like being addicted to cocaine and crack and meth. It hits the same pleasure centers. So I passed it with a very high score. And it's too expensive to keep up all these licenses. So that one had to go because that working with people with addictions is harder than anything else except family counseling. And you know why family counseling's hard. They've already decided to get a divorce before they come to see you. Or their kids are unmanageable. and they want you to fix them in 1 hour a week. I appreciate you listening if you've made it this far. If you want to give me a thumbs up or thumbs down, feel free to. If you want to subscribe, feel free to. My whole hope is I do this every day, something interesting. And also, I've been looking at some hats on Amazon and eBay. I don't like this hat, but for right now, it's the only one I have. So, hope you enjoyed this. Leave notes if no one's ever left a note for me yet. So, I could take that as failure, but I could say it's success because no one said anything bad yet. Have a blessed day. Thanks.